It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast, available, of course, every morning on iHeartRadio, Spotify and Apple, and wherever you get your podcasts from. Just realised that we have done over 600 episodes. I don't know how that happened. A lot of people that we've been talking to, clearly. And it's a Monday morning, August the 21st today, and our conversation around real estate is going to continue in just a moment. And if you were at the beach over the weekend, Monday has probably turned up way too early this morning. However, the good news is that we are going to take you back to the beach, in fact, to one of my favourite beaches in Australia, which is Mooloolaba, located on Queensland's Sunshine Coast. Yes, it's got a fantastic esplanade there as well. And we're going to catch up with Hamish Bolderston of McGrath, Mooloolaba, who is going to join us. And good morning, Hamish. Welcome to the Real Estate Breakfast.
Morning, Craig. How are you?
Not too bad. Well, you know, apart from the fact that it's Monday, but we're back at the beach.
We are, mate. We get to live and love it up here in Mooloolaba, and it's a great place to live and also to be working.
Everybody is thinking they're envious of Hamish this morning there on the Mooloolaba Sunshine Coast. Now, one of the things that I wanted to ask you is that, you know, we've talked a lot over the last probably 2 years about all of this working remotely and some of the areas that have really benefited. And I think your area for sure is one.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Craig. We've got a large number of people who have moved to the coast over the last few years post-COVID, that are everyone from young professionals all the way through to retirees and upcoming families and so forth, moving up for a bit of a lifestyle change. And not just from a perspective of enjoying, as you mentioned at the top there, the wonderful weather and climate we have up here, but also the ability just to be able to do their work from home, and whether it be anyone from an accountant through to someone that's involved in telehealth or whatever it might be. We've got lots of different people able to work big parts of their week from their homes on the coast here, and then jump off quickly for a short 15-minute drive down the road to the Maroochydore Airport, and then shoot back down to Sydney or Melbourne, wherever they need to be for work on 1 or 2 days a week.
You know, that is one of the great things about Mooloolaba is the Maroochydore Airport, because when that first came in, I remember when that airport first came, and my goodness, in terms of the amount of visitors that were transiting through there, unbelievable.
It is, and it's, I guess the big difference too is that unlike your major airports, you can park your car, wander over to the terminal, have a coffee, be sitting down and all in sort of 20 minutes from getting out of your car, and it's just a lot easier, as is most of the lifestyle up here, which is why a lot of people are making that move.
All right, well, we will come back and talk more sunshine, Mooloolaba, Maroochydore, and everything that is good about the Sunshine Coast with Hamish next.
Every morning from 6 a.m, we bring you the latest real estate news with diverse perspectives from leading industry experts. We deliver the most property podcasts across Australia every week. We are more than just a real estate podcast. We cover a multitude of subjects, including property data, current buyer-seller sentiment, and the mood of the market. Follow each week all of the main talking points and know your property.
Well, in WA's thriving Goldfields region, the surge in major construction company projects has mining companies struggling to house an influx of fly-in, fly-out workers. Approximately 600 beds are required for a $1.5 billion gold mine expansion. I wonder if this is catching the ear of developers and investors. Accommodation scarcity is being felt in Kalgoorlie, Boulder, highlighted by the rental vacancy rate of just 0.6%. BHP is planning to build a 1,000-bed camp at the Kalgoorlie Nickel Smelter, while Northern Star Resources plans a 300-bed camp for the Super Pit expansion. And Kalgoorlie CBD is dotted with empty shop fronts, and while booming, the region grapples with this ongoing accommodation challenge for its mining projects. Maybe some due diligence by developers is already underway, but it seems like a lot of bids and probably even more required in the future. Hey, if you're turning a year older today being August the 21st, you share it with Usain Bolt, one of the fastest men on the planet. 36 today, retired of course back in 2017. Kim Cattrall is turning 67, and Carrie Ann Moss, the Matrix actor, she's turning 56.
Don't forget to subscribe. We have hundreds of episodes, all designed to help you better understand the constantly evolving and dynamically changing real estate property market. It's the main centre forecast.
And as we head around the country, first we go to Sydney, expecting some sunshine with 22. Melbourne, cloudy with the possibility of a shower with 18 degrees. Brisbane should be mainly fine and sunny with 25. And in Perth today, a mostly fine day and your high 19.
Navigate the world of real estate like a pro, with expert insights, opinions and trends to up your game and knowledge when buying your next property.
And it is a Monday morning. We are back with Hamish of McGrath, Mooloolaba there. And the Sunshine Coast, it has been taking up a lot of the real estate news cycle because of the intense growth of the Sunshine Coast. People are always thinking great prices and a fantastic location. And of course, a lot of the time, those two things are in different locations. So I want to ask you about that, Hamish. Does Mooloolaba have affordability as we speak in 2023?
Yeah, I think for its location close to the beach and where we are, we've got sort of average house sale prices circa sort of 1.35 million. And that gets you a nice 4-bedroom home. And units are sort of average house or average prices on units are just over 800,000.
Yeah, because the Mooloolaba area has witnessed that steady growth in median house prices, and that's with a 4.7% annual increase and an impressive, it's very impressive, 77.6% rise in just over 5 years. You must have seen a lot in your time, particularly, I guess, when you look at things like the demographic change.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, when I first started in real estate on the coast, typically a lot of your people moving to the Sunshine Coast from rather or larger urban markets would be people either close to retirement or retirees already, looking to get some of the capital out of their properties in those southern markets and move up here debt-free and with some extra money in the bank. This time around, after COVID, we have seen a real change in that. And as I mentioned earlier, there's been a lot more sort of professional people moving up here, still happy to get a bit of a mortgage and buy their nice home and be in a great location. And also the thing that goes well with that around here is that we've also got a huge sort of selection of independent schools and also wonderful state schools in the surrounding zones.
So just give us a sense, because there will be people listening that will be thinking they might be price sensitive, looking for the best possible price. Give us some areas, some breakdown perhaps on an apartment where there's some really good buying, where somebody could move into an apartment, or if somebody wants a little bit of land. What can you throw up on this Monday morning for our listeners?
Yeah, I think, look, Mooloolaba certainly, for those that want to be right into the beach, is great buying from a house perspective, and still relative to your Sydney, Melbourne markets, very cheap for the location. In and around that area, there is also sort of a good townhouse market. Townhouse and units in the area, you can secure sort of 3-bedroom units for pretty good prices under that $800,000 mark. Even 2-bed waterfront units, you're sort of well under $700 in a lot of cases. Outside of the direct Mooloolaba area, you've got areas like Mountain Creek and lower parts of Budrum as well, which are really sought after areas, and they are suburbs that you can sort of get into still for under $1 million for a nice 4-bedroom home.
Now, just for our audience, just give the geographic location, Budrum, etc. How far away are they from Mooloolaba?
Yeah, so you're only really 5 minutes or so away from sort of Mooloolaba Beach from Mountain Creek or parts of Mountain Creek, and maybe 7 to 10 from the lower parts of Budrum.
Yeah, I guess interstaters, somebody coming from, the likes of Melbourne, from Sydney, they look at the price entry point into some of that waterfront living. It's just nothing by comparison to Sydney.
No, absolutely not. And I've still got a lot of friends back in Sydney, and sort of they're selling houses for sort of upwards of $2.5 million. Up here, that money would get you a far superior home and also put you in a position that's sort of either on water and potentially even have a little boat out the front.
How much do you think that you compete with the likes of the Gold Coast?
They're very different markets. I think the Gold Coast now is quite an urban centre up into its own, and it's a little bit sort of noisier and busier than it is up here. And we're actually starting to see a few sort of longer term Gold Coast residents even moving now up to the Sunshine Coast because they love the climate and the weather. They've just grown tired of how busy it is down there now.
I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying, as you get older, if you buy your first property in Brisbane, every decade, if you go north and live off the profits that you make, so their case was you go from Brisbane to the Sunshine Coast to maybe like a Hervey Bay to then, you finally wind up in Cairns.
Yeah, and then it's a great point you make too. And I think there's been, post-COVID, a lot of discovery of those little centres all the way up the coast. I know that builders that we've done some work with recently on some developments, they've had a lot of success sort of up Bargara way, which is just east of Bundaberg and those little towns. And even Gympie, which is now with the road upgrades only about 45 minutes out of the Sunshine Coast itself. We're finding a lot of people are sort of moving to Gympie if they can't afford the coast, a lot of younger home buyers, but still being close enough to where they grew up to access beaches and things like that as well.
Oh man, Gympie, if you had bought into Gympie 15 years ago and then be listing it in 2023, small fortune.
Yeah, absolutely. It was in our office, actually. He was selling land up there over a 2-year period on a really large development, and Todd was sort of ended up selling those from, I think they started at about $75,000 for a good-sized block up, and I think his last few sales were well into the high 200s, so that's the sort of growth just over a few years up there.
Yeah, and how are you expecting things to go between now and the end of the year for you there on the Sunshine Coast?
Everyone's sort of a little bit different in their thoughts. I seem to think that it's going to be a pretty solid spring market for us. We've already sort of starting to see a few of the indications as far as people looking at maybe sort of moving out of the area and doing what you mentioned there and moving north or to other areas. But there's also been a real lack of stock in our area for many months now. I think sort of the rolling 12-month average as of last month, we were about 30% down on stock. And the buyers haven't gone away because a lot of people that moved up here in that sort of post-COVID period, they decided because the market was so hot just to step out of it. And I think now that interest rates have settled down a little bit for now, we'll see a little bit more confidence. And with that lack of stock and still a good number of buyers, I can see the market being really strong.
Hamish, great to chat with you on this Monday. You have transported us back to the beach, which is great. And thanks so much for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning. Enjoy your Monday.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Don't navigate the real estate market alone. Let us help guide you in the world of real estate every day. Make better informed decisions with the latest news and insights. We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.